So I'm having pasta with some vegetables and sauce and beets, and James is having chili in this pumpkin. I want you to notice something about this pink pumpkin. One, it's not as pink as its grandparents were, and it has this. And I will talk about, so this, I cut the bottom of the pumpkin rather than the top. The stem side is down there, just so that I could show you that. And James is also having cornbread made from this and some other stuff. And we're going to be talking about these videos. So, oh, well, there's one more video actually that we're going to talk about too. So, get it out and show you. Alright. Oh, gosh, my knee really hurts in these ski pants.
Yeah. That's the thing to do is to try and pull.
Well, I try, but it's...
I know. It's tough.
Anyway, so one thing that you'll notice about this is a common brand of cornmeal, gluten-free and 100% yellow corn and all of this stuff, but you don't see anything about non-GMO. So you know that it is. You know that because it would tell you if it was not. So, that in mind.
That's sad.
And this tea bag that I'm not allowed to say my sister's name. She doesn't like it. So anyway, my sister gave me some tea years ago, and it was this fancy sort of tea with the little cloth pouches or whatever, these sachets they call them. And this one is Mountain High Chai from 2 Leaves and a Bud. So somebody gave me a box of this tea recently, well, a few months ago, and I'm very thankful for it. But notice something about these bags. I can't find what the sachets are made out of on the package. It's organic and all this, very expensive tea. And this pouch, it looks synthetic to me. What do you think?
It may be. I can't tell really.
So,
well, but
what do you think? Do you think that's healthy? It's organic tea, but I'm heating up
some sort of
synthetic,
plastic, maybe,
presumably, right?
Yeah,
and we'll see if that even composts. I don't know,
out there, yeah.
Right? Because my other tea bags do. So let's find out.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of people driving through here today.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll hold this up for a moment. It doesn't have this in it any longer, although I was using these packages, which were gifted to me, for putting seeds in. So if you are local to southern Alberta and you're accustomed to going to the Lethbridge seed swap, you'll be able to go get my seeds for free, because I do this service completely. I volunteer all of my time to put seeds in packages and to do this blog, which I make no money for. And if like the advertising that's on WordPress, that's there because WordPress wants to make money off of my stuff. I would have to pay them so that I could take the advertising off. So I don't make any money off of, if you see advertisements there, that's nothing to do with me. I don't choose, I can't choose who's advertising there, and anyway. So, you watch this. An Idiot Abroad too. And
let's see what his name is. Pilkington.
Yeah. So, this is, for a while now, I've been talking about the Myers-Briggs personality test and the yellow, green, blue, and red personality types. And here we have a good example. He has glasses on, thin face, and you're thinking, okay, well, is he blue then? Does he seem blue, or does he seem sort of aggressive?
Yeah.
So which do you think he is?
Yeah.
And you know right away which one he is. You know he's yellow. If you don't know, you should, right? This is obvious. And this one is also obvious. So Carl Pilkington, is obviously green. and they're calling him an idiot. An idiot.
Mm.
So, this season is very much worth watching, and I will tell you, I actually watched it twice, and I will be gifting it to somebody. And one part, my favorite part of the show, was when he was in Japan and he was learning Zen Buddhism, and
he's going through all sorts.
Very
of
beautiful.
like
So-
washing the floor.
Yeah, he learns how to wash the floor with a cloth. And I know somebody who washes the floor with a cloth. And and he's like, can't I just do it with, like he shows with his foot, you know, put his foot on the cloth then, rather than pushing it with his hands, you know? And the monk is like, no, you can't do it that way. It's got to be done a certain way, right? So anyway,
Multiple times a day.
multiple times a day. So, like, because he asked, well, when was the last time this floor was clean? Because he's looking at it going, it's spotless, right? And the guy said, well, this morning. And he's like, well, why are we doing it again? So anyway, they do the floor. And then later on, the guy's showing him how to rake out the garden. And because if you've never been to a Japanese garden, go so that you can learn about this. So anyway,
Don't waste a lot of time. But
whatever.
like, don't
Do
rake out
whatever
the
you
garden.
want.
Yeah, well,
They won't let you rake the garden. But
no.
anyway, they'd have to redo it because you won't do it
Do
right.
it right.
So anyway, so he's learning how to rake the garden. He's like, my lines are straight enough, and the monk is like, no, they waver.
Yeah.
And so he looks at him and he's like, yeah, you know, I guess they do waver more than yours and whatever, right?
But he said your lines waver too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was right.
But anyway, so he's learning all this stuff, and he says, you know, this is not Buddhism. This is OCD, he
Yeah.
says. This guy, he rakes out his garden, he goes back inside, and he sorts out his Smarties. You know? And so I got to show you, I've been saving these. Well, I can just show you inside the box to give to the person who mops her floor with a cloth like that. And so I laughed and laughed when I saw that. And I mean, anxiety disorders, I'm not laughing at the person. I love her. I've saved up all the Smarties for her that I've been gifted because I know she will very much enjoy them. She'll enjoy sorting them out and then eating them. And I'm not going to get that much. What, for me? Whatever. The only enjoyment I would get is then sorting them so that I could think of her, right? Because I think it's the most adorable thing about her is that she sorts out her candies into specific colors. And anyway, and now cleaning the floors by hand with a cloth makes a lot of sense to me. And her house, you will not find a speck of dust in it. And anyway, I adore her. So I'm not making fun of her when I laughed at him saying the Buddhism thing or the OCD thing about the Smarties. It was fun. So anyway, that was my favorite part of this. But there are so many parts of this that are worth watching. It's excellent. The fact that this is a good example of the aggressive personality types, and there has to be two of them because they have to be shown as having even more power over him, right? So, but they would have anyway. Even if there was just one of them,
Yeah.
they would be dominant over him. He's not an aggressive type. He's very passive.
Yeah.
And he's a wonderful person. Honestly, I watch this guy and I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's honest. These guys aren't. They're not honest. And he's actually going there. He's really quite respectful of people, even though he'll say things that many people wouldn't say. They would feel worried that it wouldn't be politically correct or something like that. So he'll say things that it's honest for him to say these things, and there's nothing wrong with him saying these things. And the reason that they get away with making this show so that he can go out there and actually say things that everybody honestly should be thinking about, if not saying, you know, they shouldn't be afraid to say something. They shouldn't be afraid to actually think and have their own opinions about things. So, but the reason that they get away with this is because he's a green, he's a passive personality type, but he looks like a baby. So he has a bald head, he's a little bit chubby, you know, but not like really unhealthily chubby. They even, in one part, they have him sumo wrestling, so they dress him up in a diaper.
Yeah,
and it's like these guys are, James pointed out, I thought they were more like bad friends. You know, I had a lot of friends that, aggressive types, loved being friends with me when I was young. And when we were just one-on-one, we got on just fine. And then when there were two of them though, they really picked on me. It was cruel. And so that's what I was thinking of. But James is like, oh, these are like two older brothers, right? So, and it is more like that, I suppose. When I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you know? And so anyway, here he is, this baby, right? And they're getting him to do things that he doesn't want to do, but he's going to do them. And anyway, so he has a lot of important comments that he's really, whether it's scripted or not, I mean, you can't know, right? But he is going to places that they have set up, and Rupert Murdoch is the big power behind all of this, right? And so these other people have set it up so that this Carl Pilkington goes around the world and is witness to certain things that he will comment on freely. So whether or not he is actually scripted, he has been set up to notice these things, and they know that he will notice and comment on these things, whereas they would not. You could not put either of these guys going around the world saying the stuff that Carl Pilkington is getting away with. Honestly, they would not get away with it.
Because he's a stand-in for a baby.
Kids
will say the darndest things.
Exactly.
So then they
so
can get
he
away
gets away with it. And he should get away with it. He's being honest. And there should be nothing wrong with a person actually speaking honestly about what they see. So he's seeing things like he's sent to Africa to do some volunteer work, and he is told he's going to talk to a class about risk, and he's like, why am I going here to volunteer when, you know, I'm asked to give to charity and whatever at home? Why am I going on vacation, sent on a vacation to do this, you know? And he's really, you know, he thinks they're always setting him up somehow, and they are. His vacations are not really vacations. They're kind of mean. Yeah, whatever. They're things he doesn't want to do.
Riding on top of a biplane, like standing on top of a biplane, and that's not when it's on the ground.
No, it's when it's doing loop-de-loops. And anyway, so
barrel rolls.
They're getting him to do all these things that he doesn't want to do. That honestly, I don't know if anybody would really want to do a lot of these things.
He must have a cast iron stomach, because they never show him throwing up after.
No, well, they showed him with eating that fish.
Well, that was the closest.
Yeah.
It was awful fermented fish.
Yeah, in Japan. He said something like the Japanese food, he was losing so much weight there because the food was so bad. And he said really what they should do is to get menus from anywhere else around the world and say, oh, let's make that, because he's saying their food is that bad. And yeah, they had this fermented fish that it was served in a box, and he said, I have no problem with the presentation, with the box, everything, it looks great, but this, you should put the lid back on and nail it down and bury it. Like, he's like, it's that bad, right? And then he's throwing it up. Like, he's not kidding. And he said afterwards, you know, I'll eat pretty much anything. You guys have made me eat gecko, and I mean, in this show, he actually tasted, what was it, rhinoceros poop? You know, because the guide told him to, so he did it, right? He's a green, he does what he's told. But sometimes he's like, I am not going to do that, you know, but this he was willing to do. And so there's most things he's willing to do because he's a green. He does what he's told. What else was I going to say? So he's talking about the kids about risk, and he doesn't know what he's sent there to talk to them about, really. And it turns out it's a sex education class about risk, right? So he's shocked by it because the kids know, but he didn't know. But even the one boy is dominating him because he comments on his haircut and stuff, and he's like, it's not like I go to the barber and say just cut this part off and leave it aside, you know. And the kids calling him old and stuff like that, and he points out that, well, he's had the same girlfriend for 17 years and they still don't have any children, you know, but he's telling the kids, just don't rush into that, you know, make some good decisions and blah-da-da-da. Anyway, and then he goes to build a house in a shanty town for somebody, and I mean, it's a crummy looking house, but I mean, you look around there and like he ends up, he's so stressed out about it, he's ends up buying 5 houses send the money for 5 more houses for people because it's terrible. It just it really bothers him, you can tell. But he doesn't, like Ricky was saying, well, you do this bungee jump and I'll pay for this, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do the bungee jump. And so he lies to Ricky and he tells him he's done it, right? And it's the cameraman who's actually done it for him, but it didn't work out. So so he ends up paying for the shantytown houses. But honestly, I mean, Ricky's saying, oh, well, now you look like you're a liar and an idiot, and da-da-da, this is so hilarious. And so, yeah, you're going to buy the houses, not me, right? And most, like, if you're a green watching this, you should be going, wow, that makes Ricky look like a super asshole, honestly, because he's not willing to do any of this stuff, you know? Neither of these guys are there building houses or doing whatever, and they're just telling him to go do it. And then they're not even willing to, I'm sure Ricky makes more money than
he'd make
Carl Pilkington. And he's not willing to pay for some shantytown houses. You know, if I had Carl working, going to build shantytown houses or whatever, and he said, I'd just be like, oh, that's so funny, I'm gonna buy him, you know, whatever, right? Why make him? You know, he doesn't have as much money. And or even if he wants to buy them, then say, okay, I'll buy them too, right?
Match you, yeah.
I'll match you. Thank you for being honest. Anyway, so honestly, when you watch this, you see, or you should see, you shouldn't be looking at him and going, oh, what an idiot. If you are, well, you're an asshole. You should be looking at these guys and thinking, right? But anyway, what else did we want to talk about this one? It was very good. There's a lot of things worth seeing in here. He talks about, he goes down the Route 66 and they show, back in Africa still, there was a bunch of clothing that had been donated that they were selling in a street fair. So they were showing that, I mean, you think, okay, well, I'm donating clothing to whatever group, and it's going to go straight onto the backs of some poor people. And then you see this and you're like, wow, so somebody over there is paying, or is being paid for this clothing. So the people aren't poor enough, they have to give money for the clothing then to get it? Like, honestly, what's that, right? And so you got to think about all this stuff. You don't know.
It could be some sort of charity that's using it to feed people.
But you don't know. And so that's the whole point, is they're opening your eyes to some issues, right? Some things that you donate things, and I mean, for most people, they might donate clothes and they don't want it anyway. So they don't really care, right? It's something that they can feel like, oh, I'm so charitable, but really they didn't want it. They were going to put it in the garbage or whatever. It's worth nothing to them. It's not like actually giving something that that's going to hurt them a little bit to sacrifice this, right? So whatever. But I mean, for a lot of people like Carl Pilkington, a lot of Greens, when they give up stuff to charity, it is hurting them a little bit. They are sacrificing. When Greens do it, they are sacrificing so that they can do it. When these guys do it, they are not. So
before we move on, I wanted to say, I thought we might have been finished.
no, that's good. What?
Anyway, the OCD Zen thing. I know so many yellows over here. First thought, best thought. That's supposed to be a Zen Buddhist or Buddhist type of thought. So they're slapdashing poetry, fake poetry out. Prose. It's basically journaling without any editing or stuff like that. Or they'll be writing haiku, you know. And of course, they don't even bother with the syllables. Here's a haiku. I've chucked 3 lines in there, and the first 2 lines are shorter than the middle line. I've left the verbs out because way back when Ezra Pound did something, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, wet petals on a wet black bough.
Yeah, that one's good though.
It's good, but if you look at real Japanese haikus, if you wait till about, it's not quite the 17th syllable, but getting towards the end, because Japanese is SOV language, not a SVO language like English and French and so many others, so-called Western languages. You got to wait for the verb. These idiots are so, if they ever look at the Japanese, they're so impatient they don't wait enough for the verb. So they just don't understand. They don't understand. This guy's pointing it out. This ain't Buddhism. Actually, it is Buddhism. It's OCD. It's both, right? But people have got this weird idea that Buddhism is just first thought, best thought, and stuff like that. Here's something for you fake Buddhists out there. First thought, worst thought. Come on, you know, if you're writing haikus and stuff like that, or doing kind of minimalist Buddha kind of. Are you listening, Yoko Ono? First thought, worst thought. Just think about things. First thought, best thought is what animals do. Okay, it's not really intuition. It's instinct.
Okay, instinct. But I mean, we're animals, and Carl Pilkington is actually sensitive to that fact.
Yeah.
He's talking about
did you talk
hippo
about the
in the
hippo?
House, which is his
Did you talk
favorite.
about the hippo?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh, it was a little baby hippo, I think, or a child hippo. But he and the hippo's handler were feeding the hippo by hand. So the hippo is like this, and open its mouth, and put some stuff in. Open its mouth again.
He's saying it's a very happy hippo.
Yeah.
It's obviously very happy.
They
it
had a
loves
little
being there.
bed. It got rubbed down, right?
Got a good massage before bed, and they put the covers up over it.
So they put a mattress down on the floor, and the hippo went and lay on the mattress.
And so he's telling Ricky, this is a happy hippo. You know, this is the best experience. And Ricky's like, nope, you know, wild animals should be in the wild. They shouldn't be in people's houses or whatever. And he won't accept. I mean, he didn't even see this hippo. He wasn't there. Yet he won't accept Carl's opinion on it, even though he was, right? And I could see through the TV that hippo was happy. It didn't take a genius to see that.
Once it grew as big as not a house, but a room in a house, it would have to be out in the wild.
Well, how's it going to get in the door eventually? And then it will be a sad hippo, because it won't be able to come into the house.
Well, it'll know.
They might build a door for it or something. Because, that's one happy hippo. And he's pointing out, like, at the end of the show, he's like, what are you talking about? How do you, like, this was the best way to see this hippo. You'd rather go to a zoo where they're sitting on some, like, rock and sulking there, and they're not happy at all.
Here's the
and
deal.
It's like, why would you think that's any less real a life for that animal than wandering into the house to get
I don't recommend picking up wild animals, but if they follow you around, don't turn them away. They're making a choice. So here's the deal. I get this from a guy who's done geographical work, we'll say. I won't specify exactly, just in case you got some of the details wrong. But down in South America, down in Patagonia, now, a while back, they introduced beaver down there. I think they wanted to start a fur industry, and then the fur industry, the bottom fell out of it, right? But the beaver survived there. And the thing is, it's not like the habitat that they've got up here. So you got vegetarian beavers up here. You know what they did down there? Because they didn't have the proper food. They became predators. They started eating fish.
It sounds so
That's
funny.
flexible. You know, the same thing with dogs. You know, like I'm telling you, dogs weren't. You could not domesticate a dog if it didn't want to be domesticated. How are you? You put a leg hold trap. It's hard to keep even a domesticated dog in a yard or something like that. Dogs domesticated people in a certain sense. They chose people. They'd be wolves would be hanging around, you know, waiting for leftovers and stuff like that, and you know, people got a little bit attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
The dogs chose the people.
So he then did Route 66, and they put him in a tickle party, or no, what is it called? Hogging party. And so
That was
they
incredible.
keep trying to convince him. There's a couple women there who they don't want to take no for an answer, really. You know, they want him to participate, and he's like, I didn't even know what I was sent here for, and no, nobody's gonna hug me, kind of thing, right? Like,
No.
he's
He's got a girlfriend.
he has
of,
a
what,
girlfriend,
17
and
years?
he, you know, I
Now
can
17
understand.
years
You know,
old.
not everybody wants to be hugged like that.
No.
And the thing is this reminds me of there's a woman in India who gives out hugs, and I've seen
Now those are real
video.
hugs.
She
know.
gives
This other
hugs.
stuff was.
You can see she's transferring positive energy to the people that she's giving
and
hugs.
it's like one-on-one. This other thing was.
But with
Wow.
a
It
lot of
looked
people,
awful.
when they're aggressive personality types, they actually take hugs. They don't give them, they take them. So, and I don't think a lot of
Was
people
that your
realize
point,
the
or was
difference.
that his
This
point?
is my
That's
point.
a good point. Yeah.
This is something that I've noticed there's a lot of people out there who, oh, I give my children hugs, and they're all in front of people, they're very affectionate or whatever, but it's all a show. They're
Yeah.
not actually giving hugs, they're taking energy from their children.
Yeah.
And their children end up messed up.
No.
You follow them up into adulthood, and you see, yep, that child doesn't know how to give a hug either, because they've never had one given to them. They've actually just had energy taken from them, from their parent.
No.
It's sad, but a lot of mothers these days are yellows, and they are aggressive personality types.
Yeah.
They don't know how to give
Mhm.
love to their children.
They're likely to give a hug with their bare hands.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so, and it's not their fault either.
Mhm.
They weren't. Something was lacking in their upbringing, or genetically,
Well,
whatever.
I think it's
But
basically upbringing. We're
think
going to
it's
say that, but it just goes from generation to generation.
Yeah.
It's really quite
So
sad.
anyway, so he goes to this party, and it's not for him. And then he goes to Pan for Gold, and we're seeing a guy who's living in a trailer park, and it's really bare bones,
Loaded down
you
with
know?
3 guns, I
And
think, even when he's
They're shooting things,
watching
and
TV.
but
Maybe
I
he's
mean,
ready to-
honestly, he had more fun with that guy, I think, than any of the others that they sent him to do on.
well, he actually got out in the, you know, he
yeah,
wasn't
seeing nature.
breathing diesel fumes.
And the guy was trying to teach him something, so he was
Sure,
happy
that's
to
right.
learn it. He
No.
was, you know, he didn't end